What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. I don't talk politics as much as I used to because, at least on this platform, because, some of this stuff could be um, very controversial. But I do want to talk about something that I'm seeing. And while there aren't many elections up for grabs in November of this year, there will be a couple of gubernatorial elections, one in New Jersey, one in Virginia, and there's some other elections out there as well. The main ones will be the midterms next year. But um, I got to say, man, right now, if you're being honest, um, Trump and the Republicans, I don't know if I would say they're in danger or in trouble because it's a whole year until the midterms. But I would be very, very concerned about the public's perception of the Trump administration or the Trump presidency. You know, the economy is not doing very well right now. People can lie and say, oh, the numbers aren't really indicative of what's going on and things are going to turn around, and maybe they will. But right now, things aren't very good. I think the average new home buyer in America right now is the average person who buys their first home, they're in their 50s, as opposed to in the 1980s when Ronald Reagan was president, the average first-time home buyer was in their early to mid-30s. Most people are renting. Uh, Not only are most people renting, but oftentimes most people are renting with others just to be able to get by. Um, as a consequence of people's um, reliance on paying rent to get to have a roof over their head and provide shelter for themselves and their families, these renters increasingly being monopolized by conglomerates. The rent prices are going up higher and higher and higher and higher, to the point where it's starting to mimic having a house note, and a mortgage. And it's just ridiculous, man. And, you couple that with the fact that food prices are going up. Food prices are going up so much now that I saw something trending on Twitter today where Rice Aroni and Hamburger Helper is making a comeback. People are using those things to stretch meals out. That's something a lot of poor people used to use. You know what I'm saying? The black community, what I'm saying, and Hispanic community and poor people in general, we know about a Hamburger Helper. Now it's becoming something that's being introduced to people who didn't used to be poor, people who were in the upper middle class and middle class. So I say all that to say this, it's not a good look that Trump is investing $250 million into building I'm assuming it's going to be called the Trump Ballroom. It's just it's not a good look, man. It's just not. You can try to spin it. Oh, well, world leaders and kings and emperors, and presidents, they're supposed to have, supposed to live in opulence and live in grand style. It doesn't look good when American people are struggling and the wannabe king is expanding the White House so he can have a ballroom, knocking out the East Wing of the White House so he can expand it and have a ballroom for him and his richest cohorts to enjoy and to celebrate as they go richer and richer and richer, while the average American gets poorer and poorer. Who do you think is going to be at these? Who do you think is going to be invited to these ballrooms? You think it's going to be regular Americans? No, it's going to be the richest 1 to 2% of America and of the world. They're going to be at this ballroom. Donald Trump's net worth has, over the past 3 to 4 years, as a matter of fact, the hell with that, since he's become president, his net worth is almost doubled. Who cares if he's not accepting his $400,000 annual salary? Who gives a shit if your net worth has gone from $3 billion to $7 billion in less than one calendar year? Who knows what type of insider trading they're benefiting off of? All types of corruptions. You know, Barron Trump, his son is already worth $150 million through crypto trading. It's not a good look, man. It almost reminds me of, if you know anything about presidential history, during Martin Van Buren's presidency, we went through a horrific, at the time, it was the worst depression in American history. And Martin Van Buren was he was a guy that was a New Yorker. He had, I believe he came from poverty, but he had enriched himself, through hard work, and he had became a member of the upper class, eventually, of New York society. And while he was a person that loved the finer things in life, and while he did dress like a potentate, and he acted like a potentate, but he wasn't as, the White House at least wasn't as extravagant as some of the 1840 propaganda when he was running for re-election made it out to be. They said that he was drinking out of golden cups, and it was using golden plates in the White House, and there was gold placard throughout the White House as far as on the walls. And when you look at it now, Trump is actually doing that. Trump is actually using gold and silverware, and they redesigned the White House to look a certain type of way. The White House was always made to look, or purposely was made to look, how can I put this? The White House is always made to look beautiful, but not anything in the class of, say, the czar palaces in Russia, or some of these more extravagant palaces that some of these or these palatial estates that some of these emperors and kings have had in the past. America, the White House, is supposed to be more. It was supposed to be more down to earth and supposed to represent how the president is not a king. Trump wants to be a king, and it's just not a good look, man. And he's very, very, to me, tone deaf to what's going on. I don't see a guy who really gives a shit about anything other than himself and his family. I don't think he cares. Now, you can like what I have to say and not like it. I don't really care. At the end of the day, it's the truth. I don't think he really cares, man. And at the end of the day, his supporters are the ones who are his biggest enablers, because they will never call anything out that he does. They will never call out any fault that he has. Look, at one point in time, I was a big Barack Obama supporter in 2008, right? And I did vote for him as far as re-electing him in 2012. But starting around 2013, I became a critic of his, because I was already pissed off at him because I didn't like his foreign policy. I thought that he was at least a borderline war criminal, and I didn't like some of the things that he was behind when it came to Africa, considering that he has ties to Africa through his father. And then, when you look at his second term, Obama did everything for everybody within the Democratic apple cart except for Black Americans. He was very condescending to us, especially Black men, American Black men. And that's why I don't really rock with him, and I don't rock with the Democratic Party. But I'm not anybody's cult member, you know? And, this tone deafness within his own party may cause them to lose their majority. I mean, they're already losing some people if you pay attention to it. This whole thing, the Epstein thing, I'm not really talking about it on YouTube, but if you notice, they're losing some people. They're losing people like Marjorie Taylor Greene. Nancy Mace is kind of breaking with them on some of this stuff, right? And if you know anything about politics, the one group that stubbornly had been behind Trump, at least to a plurality than a majority in the last several elections, have been white women. And if you're Republicans, you want to pay attention to that. And then you look at some of the stuff that was exposed with this racist Republican chat group, right, which included one lawmaker. These guys are fantasizing about doing horrible things to women. And you got J.D. Vance talking about this is just youthful banter or whatever. Come on, man. These guys are in their 30s and 40s. But anyway, that's all I got to say about this one. Tell me what you guys think.